Yeah. Um, like Kevin, I would like to echo our team's sentiments. We had a bus driver up in Portland whose family was actually affected by the tornado. So it's amazing the reach of the Illini family, and know that members of our Illini community were affected by the storms. And we play a sport, and we're fortunate to do that. And we were traveling yesterday and watching pictures, and feeling the fear that happens when you're away from there, and those sorts of things happen. So, like Kevin, our team wants to express their thoughts and prayers to go out to, all the way to Pullman, Washington, and the bus driver we had, who we know was affected by that storm. Um, an amazing trip out to Pullman, Washington. Not the easiest place to get to. I think it was a 12-hour trip on Wednesday and 11 and a half to get back home last night, about 2:30 this morning. So I'm certainly happy that we're only going to Nebraska. One of those games that you probably couldn't describe if you weren't there to see it, if you weren't there to see the white uniforms turn brown and the green field turn to a mud bath, and an Illinois team that I think, similar to Kevin, showed an unbelievable just desire to win. It wasn't great conditions to play great soccer. It wasn't conducive to us playing the way that we like to play, that we're good at playing. Claire Wheatley, our freshman goalkeeper, an amazing rebound from what I think everyone would agree was not a great performance in the Big Ten tournament, had probably the game of her life in Pullman, not holding on to everything, because between the mud and the wet and whatnot, she certainly made every save interesting. But as she said in the press conference, it was just about getting her body behind the ball and making sure it didn't end up at the back of the net. And she did that for 110 minutes, and then made two great saves in the penalty kick shootout. Three of our four players put the ball in the back of the net, in penalty kicks, to advance to the second round of the NCAA tournament. And a lot of credit. Our defense has taken a lot of heat, I think, during the season. And the four of them, I think, put their bodies on the line, sliding, and a goalkeeper drops a ball or it bounces off of her. There was someone there to clear it out. And that's those four defenders doing everything they could, as well as our goalkeeper, to keep the ball out of the net. And a lot of credit goes to them for that. Was a hard-fought shutout. It was a good team that was a little bit more used to the conditions than we were, and that defense just did what it took to keep the ball out of the back of the net. And on a muddy kind of day like that, it meant sliding, it meant slipping, it meant putting a piece of your body in front of the ball. I think we've got several players with ball marks, one that was bleeding and put mud on it to keep it from bleeding. It was one of those kinds of games. So a lot of credit to this defense to figure out a way in a fight, and just a will to win. And this time of year, that's what it's about. Advance and move on. And so we'll head to Nebraska to face a very talented Portland team. And we're looking forward to that, doing our research and getting ready for that trip to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Jenny, you talked a lot about the conditions. Could you describe it during the game, or was the precipitation from before
Most of the precipitation was actually before. It started snowing about 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and snowed pretty much through the night. So when you woke up Saturday morning, it was a snow-covered ground. I will have to credit the Washington State staff. They cleared the field, shoveled and dragged and squeegeed and did everything they could to get it as playable as possible. But it was already pretty soft. It sits down in a hollow. They call it the lower soccer field for a reason. It's lower than everything else. So pretty much all the moisture in that area goes down to the soccer field. So it was certainly wet and sloppy. And as soon as you started to play on it, it just became, there was enough moisture in it, it never got sticky. It just was slick. And, you can see some of the pictures of mud-covered uniforms, because and Vanessa would say every time I tried to stop, I slid 3 yards that way and then could change direction. So it was certainly a difficult situation to sort of play. Luckily, I think the ball didn't stick in the mud. Occasionally it did, but it wasn't like it would just hit the mud and stick, which we were a little bit concerned about, and that it sort of slid right along with the rest of the players. So certainly difficult conditions. Both teams had to play in it, but certainly I think it's their field. They practice on it. They play on it. I think they probably knew where the drier spots were, but at some point in time, it just became a muddy mess.
You've had a remarkable record, not just in these last two NCAA tournaments, but even going back a lot farther, in this situation that you faced on Saturday. Have you thought about why that might be? Or anything you can point to that kind of explains it?
Yeah, it certainly has been. I think we get into the penalty kick situation, and I think most teams playing against us don't want to be in that situation because of that history, and so certainly history plays into our favor at this point because of the. I think it gets into the minds of our opponents, but I think also it's a situation where we've trained our players to step up and to be confident in doing what they do and take the pressure off the goalkeeper and say, hey, make one great save and we'll do what we can. And I think we've got great goalkeepers. We've got players who step up and strike a confident ball. And when you put those two things together, that's a situation that breeds for success in that particular environment. You have to have confident shooters, and you have to have a sort of confident goalkeeper who can relax and just try to make a save. And I think we've been fortunate to have that over the years, and so our track record there is pretty good.
With Hunter being from Texas, was snow something new or?
Well, I think the snow part was, I think the cold, wet conditions. She plays on a high school team, and they play winter in Texas. So she certainly has played in some cold games today, as a high school player. But I think the snow and the wet ground was certainly not something she plays in every day. So for a freshman goalkeeper to go into those situations, after having not her best performance, her last outing, you really have to give some credit to the mental toughness that she showed on that day. To continue to make saves and to continue to keep the ball out of the back of the net.
This probably isn't a fair question because it's such a quick turnaround that you've experienced during the last day, but what can you tell us about Portland?
Thanks to 12-hour travel trips, so you get to watch a lot of film in those 12 hours. But it's a very talented team. It's a team that really is a possession-oriented team. They don't take a lot of shots. They're not going to, but they are really good at creating great opportunities. I think they're one of those teams who they wear you down, like on the football field. If the offense has the ball for a long time, they wear down a defense. They do that. They keep the ball. They'll pass the ball around. Everybody on the ball is pretty good, so they have a ability to keep the ball. Their scoring is across the board if you look down at the roster, and it's because it's a team in all sense of the words. They'll get numbers forward on attack. They'll get numbers back on defense. It's a real team-oriented style of play. And, I think that's something that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to deal with them having the ball for a period of time and make sure our defense is tight, but you don't want to chase. Because if you chase, then you do what they want you to do is chase and get tired, and then they'll come at you. So certainly I think we're going to have to show our patience defensively. The transition is going to be important. We've got to be able to, when they get numbers forward, to win the ball and go at them if that's the situation. But we've got to be able to possess the ball as well. And it could be, one of those games where both teams have the ball a lot, and it's the one opportunity, and who can finish that.
Which team have you played this year that maybe most closely resembles that style?
Gosh, that's a good question. Yeah, it's. I think they're more patient in terms of possession than any team we faced this year. I really do think that in terms of just their willingness to just keep the ball and probe and change it, and they're really, really patient offensively. Probably more patient than any team we faced this far.